at the City University of New York in the United States. Thank you, Danny, for joining us. When will we find out who has made it into the Constitution Convention and what will happen next, the next step in the process?
Later tonight, we should know. As of right now, about 15% of the votes are counted. The anti-system vote, the left-wing vote, the anti-neoliberal vote is looking very strong right now against the government vote. This is a huge showdown. They're calling this mega elections in Chile. This is the biggest election in how many decades? After this legacy of Pinochet and the Pinochet dictatorship, the Chilean people have stood up. I think it's important, Jose Daniel, to emphasize that it's because the Chilean people were so organized and so mobilized in the streets in 2019 that they demanded the rewriting of this constitution. And surely here in the United States, we could learn a great deal from the people of Chile, where we sorely need to rewrite this constitution right here.
And what are people's expectations regarding the new constitution, and how will the convention decide what makes it into the constitution draft and what's not?
That's why it's so important with this 1,000 plus candidates. There'll be 155 who will emerge victorious later tonight. They will rewrite this constitution. Some of the main things is gender equality, overthrowing so much of the neoliberal legislation right now that's enshrined in the Pinochet constitution, having what was called el Estado Social with Salvador Allende before the vicious 9/11 coup in 1973 under the auspices of U.S. intelligence and the State Department. So this is really redemption from that 1973 coup so that there can be a social state, a state that cares about people's right to health care, to education. Because right now in Chile, much like here in New York City in the United States, you can only go to the best universities, the private universities, if you can afford it. Like Sebastián Piñera, the billionaire neoliberal puppet businessman who's in power now. So this showdown in Chile is a showdown with imperialism, with a failed neoliberal model, very similar to the showdown we saw in Ecuador last month, the showdown we saw in Bolivia, and many other showdowns that are playing out this year in Nicaragua, in Honduras, between the failed model of neoliberalism and a people-centered model, a model of a Bolivarian model, the model of the pink tide.
And now, Danny, how this new constitution will be implemented and what else has been done to address the protest movement's demands?
So tonight, the 155 new writers of the Constitution will be elected. And then for the next year, they will set out to rewrite the Constitution. And then next year, there'll be a referendum to see if the people of Chile approve of this new Constitution. So for the next 9 to 12 months, for the first time, different sectors of the Chilean people. We should remember that Chile is a plurinational state with many different indigenous nations, including the Mapuche people. For the first time, they'll have a voice in the Constitution. Of course, the women of Chile and the different popular sectors. Right now, one of the chief complaints we're hearing from the Chilean people, from the everyday working class neighborhoods, is that there wasn't sufficient infrastructure and transportation for them to cast their ballot. So it looks like the amount of electors was lower than some groups anticipated. But right now, things are looking promising for the votes of resistance, for the votes that reflect the 2019 popular rebellion, similar to the popular rebellion right now we're seeing in Colombia, the resistance in Palestine, the rebellion against neoliberalism and neocolonialism in Haiti. That's why there is a vote today, because the Chilean people stood up and said, basta ya, we're not going to take any more of this billionaire puppet in power and his neoliberal regime.
And we want to thank you, Danny, for your time and for joining us. And we hope to have you again in the show next time.
Thank you, Jose Daniel.
That was Danny Shaw, a university professor based in the United States.